everybody. Welcome back to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are cranking them out here twice a week, every week, hitting 400 plus episodes in a very short amount of time, about 2 weeks. No, about 4 years, 4.5 years, Karl. What do you think about that? That's a lot of episodes, not enough episodes, not enough of me. What do you think?
I mean, they say to do it right, you need to do it frequently. That's what I've always heard. And it's probably why I haven't started my own podcast yet. You have to really deep end and constantly generate content. So I think you're doing it right.
Also a way to save a marriage frequently. All right. Moving
Yeah.
along, moving along. Really, really great to have you here. We are going to get into the weeds on growing a law practice and legal tech and a ton of other stuff that we had talked about ahead of time. Love to start off with our quote of the show, Karl, which is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Do you know who said that, by the way?
Goodness gracious.
Other
I
than
can't,
yourself?
other than me, I use it all the time, and I try to give it proper credit where credit's due, and I'm blanking on it.
I think you just take credit for it, man.
I think I should just take credit for it.
All right. All right. So great quote that you came up with, by the way. Tell us more about that quote.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it can be difficult, particularly when you get really busy as an attorney and your docket tends to pick up, whether you're doing transactional work or litigation. But sometimes you really do want to slow down and just sure that when you're, no matter what the task is, if it's a small letter or a small set of discovery or a big brief, and really put the level of attention and detail into the small projects for the smaller clients, just the same as you would for the large cases. I think there's something to be said for that. I think it helps establish your credibility. It also helps establish your reputation with your colleagues and your peers, that, hey, this person clearly cares about what they're doing. I kind of think about it takes a lot of work to do it right, but it also takes a lot of work to clean up a mess when someone does it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. That if you're lazy and you're a procrastinator and you're not doing good work, that you can sort of get a sense that if you do that thing, like people that are late, like if they're late for your meeting, they're probably late for all their meetings. Or if they're talking negatively about one person, they're probably talking negatively about a lot of people. Or on the other side of it, like if they're really strong in one area, they're probably strong in all the areas. Like, is that part of it, you think? Because that's what I'm kind of taking away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I think that, I'm focused in my brain on kind of the role of a litigator. And when I think about that quote in the context of being a litigator, it's like the detail and the way that you show up matters every single time. And if you can be very consistent in the way you show up to meetings, the way you argue in court, the way you deliver work product timely. One of the things that we try to do, for example, at my firm, and we have this SOP, standard operating procedures, kind of almost become a book that I've written over the last 10 years or so. And we try to always avoid surprises for our clients. So just part of the SOP is anytime we get discovery, we send the discovery immediately to the client, and within 2 weeks we send them drafts. And it just helps to show, and it's always, always like that, every single case across our entire firm. And I think that when you can give a client that level of trust and confidence that I know when this person says they're going to do something, they're not only going to do it timely, they're going to do it right 99% of the time, and it's going to be high quality. So I think it can be easy when you get busy to start to put less effort or focus less on some of the smaller things, or take for granted even something as, like, I'll give you one example. I had an associate recently who responded to a client in a way that wasn't intentionally rude, but it was extremely short and came very terse. It came across as a little bit flippant. And I immediately just coached the associate privately and sent them and said, hey, keep in mind the way that we talk to clients matters. And, I know it takes a little bit of extra time to write that extra sentence or two of thanks so much with your help so far on this discovery. You know, I understand you're looking into issue XYZ. I can't wait to hear back from you on that so I can finish these up. You know, those little types of things do matter. And I think that the way we communicate with each other, the attention to detail on drafts that we send out, you know, regardless of whether it's, you know, just a standard set of discovery or a very complex motion, to me, that's what I look for in trying to decide which team members I want to promote, which people I really want to work with. You know, I want the ones where the way they do one thing is the way they do everything. So I don't have to
Yeah.
worry, you know, are they going to give this report the level of attention it needs just because this is a smaller case compared to one of our death cases or one of our catastrophic injury cases. So that's kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah. But when I hear SOPs and I hear, client service and the way that we respond and doing things right away, it leads me to believe and understand that's become a part of your culture. That's become the way your firm is run. And people need to kind of get in line with that because that's the right way to do it. And I think what we're really getting to is consistency. You're just being consistent with the way that you're doing things in a positive way versus haphazardly, where it can be good sometimes and bad other times. And we all know that that's not a good way to be, but that is the way people are.
Yeah, I mean, we on this we didn't even talk about this potential topic when we were getting ready for this podcast, but this seems to be pretty on point. So one of the things we've recently done at my law firm is roll out accountability charts. So if you've ever read Traction by
Yeah.
Gino Wickman,
Love traction.
so we have implemented that at my firm, and when we implemented it, not only did we go through the process of defining each role from the partner across the entire team, partner, associate attorney,
Hmm.
litigation paralegal, and we have legal nurse consultants on our team as well. And tried to get pretty granular. Like, this is what's expected of a partner. Everything from how to manage clients to reporting on the case to, you know, making sure that we see the forest from the trees. You know, the timing that we expect things to be done from team members. Like, after you take a deposition, the client should get an update within X, you know, a day or
Yep.
two.
Yep.
And documented how we're going to track that stuff, right? We have action plans where they're going to live, what we expect from not only communicating with clients, but also what we expect from communicating with each other. And obviously, they're called accountability charts for a reason, that we're going to use them and hold each other accountable. And, you know, I think the first big admission for your podcast is no one is perfect. And I certainly have strayed from the accountability chart myself, but that's the reason we're a team and we're there to hold each other accountable. So I kind of always tell the team, you know, you should remind me and hold me accountable if I stray from it as well, because
Yeah.
we're there to kind of help each other do better. And if we can have that mindset, we always, one of the things that Treg Doyle is my law partner, he's who I founded the firm with. One of the things that he's been so good about, and it's kind of inspired the way that I coach people, the way that I work with people, is we are very solution oriented. So if someone makes a mistake, obviously we hope that no one makes a mistake. That would be great. But when someone makes a mistake, and we really try to live this out through our own actions, the way we talk to people, the way we respond or react when a mistake is brought to our attention, we're not throwing our laptop or, you know, throwing a file on the ground. And trust me, I have seen attorneys that have behaved like that in the past. When someone makes a mistake, we're just trying to find out, okay, tell me exactly what happened. And then we start to analyze, how can we fix this? Right? That's the first thing. How can we
Yeah.
fix this?
Yeah.
Is it something we need to tell the client? And if so, how should we tell the client?
Mm.
And then three, and this is perhaps for me the most important as one of the business owners, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
and then I decide, is this something that should be one of our SOPs, right? Should
Right.
this actually go into the SOP? So,
But it's just, I mean, we're already on a kind of a track of what many law firms are missing, which are not only the SOPs and processes, but how do we identify things that are not working and or that have gone wrong and making those improvements. And again, I'm a huge, as as a business development coach for lawyers and all that. I mean, it's all about incremental improvement. It's all about making mistakes and not, hey, I got punched in the face today and tomorrow I'm going to get punched in the face again and the next day I'm going to get punched. I mean, that's not a smart way to live. At some point you got to duck or you got to move to the left or the right. And how many times do we need to get hit in the face before we duck? So it should be as few as possible. That's right, the answer, right? So we really want to think about, how do we make improvements, and not just in ourselves, but to your point, with the group, with the team.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I'm a work in progress myself. Like my role
That's not now. Is that you or is that your wife talking?
yeah, she would agree. I'm getting better at it, but it's still a struggle for me too. So I am trying to be a better managing partner. I'm trying to be a better founder on the legal technology company Scribe, and I know we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah.
But what I sometimes have to remind myself is, what do they say the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so, if you are struggling with your firm, whether it's your workload or hiring the right people or finding more clients, whatever it is, you have to change something. You can't just keep doing the same thing and hope
Yeah.
that one day it's magically going to solve itself. It could, it's not impossible, it's just not likely. And I would bet that it won't. Some of the advice that I got, and actually the person who gave me this advice is Tom Irby, who's my co-founder of Scribe, who's also historically been a business coach and mentor. He said, look, he actually coached me a couple of years ago, and he came into my office and we talked about issues I was facing and ideas that I had and problems for, everything from law firm management to marketing and how are we going to do this and who's helping you do this. And he said, Karl, it sounds like you are working a ton for the business, but you aren't carving any time out to work on the business. And it took me a second to grasp what he meant. But he's like, look, you have such a heavy caseload and you've got a lot of really good ideas, but you're constantly getting pulled into a different case to help manage whatever the problem is of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're ever going to be able to advance your business, you have to set aside time. He recommended 1 day a week at a minimum that is just a day of working on the business, not for the business.
Right.
And so I thought that was a pretty clever quote that, if you've never heard it before, really does kind of make you stop and think. If you're in this, particularly if you're in the services business, right? And attorneys are, are you spending all of your time every week just doing the work for your business? And if you are, and you're not carving out any other time to think more high level, to not bill the hours, but to focus on whatever it is your business needs to solve, then you're probably doing yourself a disservice and you're probably never going to grow.
Yeah. I feel like that's a Michael Gerber E-Myth quote.
It may
Because
be.
that whole book is about people working in the business versus on the business. And it really, what happens is people get sucked into wearing every hat. I'm the administrator, I'm the managing partner, I'm the hirer, I'm the main rainmaker, I'm the guy who can handle all the cases. And and that's where things get totally, bogged down. And
It's a trap. It's a
it's a
trap.
trap. It is absolutely a trap.
I was in it. I had to claw my way out of the trap. When we first, when we first launched, I was the IT guy.
Yeah.
I bought the stuff to stock the kitchen,
Yeah.
like everything, HR, everything. I mean,
Make that Costco run, man. Make the Costco run.
yeah, it's crazy. And another, I know we're going to talk book stuff later, but this discussion got me thinking about a book I'm listening to right now called Who Not How
Yeah.
by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm not even halfway into it yet, but that's an interesting concept too, which is, you kind of trot out all these things you want to do. And a lot of attorneys are very smart people. They have great ideas, but they don't have a lot of time. And so the ideas just end up sitting in a, notebook or on the computer, and no one executes them. And so now I'm really starting to think more and more in both of my businesses. If I've got a great idea, just because I don't have time to do it doesn't mean that I shouldn't find someone else to execute it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just signed on to have my second audiobook done. Now I could narrate that myself, and maybe there'd be some people that would enjoy that. I don't know. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to sit and go over it again and again and again to get it right, because that's what I would do. I'd rather just hire a professional.
Yeah.
And so I did it, right? So in the idea that people are missing the boat on bookkeepers, they're missing the boat on VAs, right? Getting administrators and marketing people, and just like, who can do it, not how. It's becoming more commonplace, but not enough. And also managing partners need to figure out, like, what hats do you want to wear? Are you wearing every hat? Or are you going to pick two or three that you enjoy and that you seem to have a proclivity for, and focus on them, and delegate the rest? And I know a number of lawyers, Karl, that they've gotten out of the work. And I know that that's tough, because you enjoy it, and it's, that's for some people, that's their persona of who they are, is, lawyer. But ultimately, if they want to grow business, they realize, look, I got to stop getting involved in all these. I can mentor the other people to handle the cases, but I don't need to be in court, and I don't
Yeah.
need to do all the heavy lifting on this stuff. Everybody's
It,
got to pick their lanes.
it can be hard to let go.
Yeah.
And frankly, sometimes you worry, like, what are my team members going to think if I'm not the one doing this? I've always been the one that did this, whatever this is.
Yeah.
And, are they going to think that I'm just on the golf course, or what, whatever. And maybe you should be, maybe you deserve to be on the golf course every once in a while. I don't golf personally, but no, I think it's super important. And it's something that, again, I meant it when I said it. I'm trying to get better at those things. And I've noticed that when I do let go and hire someone to help with whatever it is, firm administration, HR, marketing, virtual assistant. I've had a business coach in the past. Every time so far, knock on wood, it's worked out really, really well. And
Yeah.
it's helped take things off my plate and actually improve, the business, improve the quality of what I'm doing, what I'm offering.
And I think it directly relates to burnout, right? I mean, if you're trying to, if if you're doing every job, only you can do it, and it's perfectionism and all those things that lawyers are associated with, and you're wondering why you're so burned out, or why you're not getting enough sleep, or you're not eating well, or all the things you're not, I do exercise classes, I play a lot of sports. I just can't imagine a life where I'm not active because I don't have time. Or I haven't made time. So what are some things that you do, or that, that you would suggest to lawyers to not burn out? I think we've covered some of it, but what are a couple other
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I mean, I did one today, which is I have a personal trainer I see twice a week to get a solid, lifting workout in.
Yeah.
Could I go on my own? Sure, I could, but I'd probably be a lot more likely to find an excuse.
Mm,
And I found that having a trainer help me 2 times a week ends up meaning that I'm more likely to work out probably 5 to 6 times a week, because I'll work out on my own on the days kind of in between. And, he's holding me accountable, asking, did you get your other workout in? And have you
yeah,
been eating
yeah, yeah,
healthy? And so I think that one of the things, particularly for business professionals that certainly can afford those, because that is a luxury, obviously, but business professionals that can afford it, I think you'll be so much better for it, like mentally. I joke with my trainer, I'm really getting almost like 3 types of training here. I'm getting physical fitness, but we also talk a little bit about mental health while we're
hmm
working out. And he actually just coincidentally has history of software, B2B SaaS. And so we even talk business a little bit. And I'm
yeah.
like, man, you should be charging me more. I'm getting some business coaching here. We're talking mental health issues, and we're working out all at the same time.
Yeah, that's really great. And so, I know that there's a lot of moving parts with what, we've hit up, like, you can't do everything. You got to delegate. You got to figure out, SOPs, create processes that streamlines things to make, to allow other people to do things that they couldn't do before, because now they have a process for it. Having that opens up then gaps of time to work out, and to sleep, and to eat, and to have family time, and not get the burnout. So I wish I could say it's like a one size fits all, or that it's just one direction for everybody. Everybody's different, but you have to clear the decks on a lot of the administrative and a lot of the low level stuff that you're doing, in
Yeah.
order to then be able to do the high level stuff. And high level could be that workout.
Yeah, and my take on it is you almost have to be willing to slow down to speed up. Like,
Yeah.
if you find your career, your business life reaching the point of just stressed out all the time, less happy than you used to be, heavy workload, can't find enough people to help you. Again, you can't just keep doing the same thing. It's not going to change, and you're going to perhaps burn out and end up in a bad spot. And
Yeah.
so you kind of have to hit the brakes and say, okay, look, I've got to figure out how to solve this. And I think, and this is not, necessarily to tout you just on your podcast, but I think the concept of a business coach, regardless of who it is a really healthy way to think about it. And it's an analogy, right, to like a personal trainer on getting stronger or getting leaner or whatever your goal is. Having someone to talk to about it, to help hold you accountable, to help you maybe even define the plan. Like
Yeah.
what is your why? What does a win look like for you? Well, for
Yeah.
some people, it may be, I've got plenty of work. I don't even need any more clients. I just need more me time. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's figure out how to make that happen. Maybe you could take every Friday off, and, we could hire someone to help you manage this client or this case or whatever it is. While for others, maybe they want to conquer the world and they do want, 100 clients of their own, and they want to grow a really big team. There's a lot of different potential paths, but I think having a coach help you is extremely important. And,
Yeah.
I've used one in the past and probably should hire one again. My coach became my co-founder of Scribe.
Right.
So, you
Now
know,
more of a friend than a coach. But
yeah.
I started off thinking I was in sales and franchising, and I thought I was the bomb and making great money, and I did. But until I met a coach, I had blinders on like you can't believe. I just saw everything, I had a hammer and everything was a nail. And this coach said to me, look, and evaluated me, evaluated what I was doing, and just saw all these deficiencies in the way that I was doing business development, the way that I was doing marketing, networking, and I was so grateful to hire him and pay him a ton of money because it was for me game changing, life altering, and got me into coaching, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately. And now I'm able to sit down with someone. I meet with lawyers all week, and in some cases, everything that they need and the gaps that they have directly relate to what I solve and what I teach and what I can help them with. And we take a slow move
Yeah.
to that process. But more importantly, maybe would be all right. This person doesn't need me. This person needs a leadership coach. This person needs a career coach. This person needs a software that I don't, have, but that ultimately will save them time. Or geez, if this person just had a VA, for 20 hours a week, could completely change that individual's
Right.
life, and they're not going to need me. They just need that time open. If they have the
Yeah.
time open, they can go own the world, rule the world.
No,
So really, I think it's about finding people that you can trust, that can give you constructive feedback and find your gaps and point you in the right direction with sincerity and honesty and truthfulness. And that doesn't exist everywhere, but it does exist. I mean, most of the people I engage with are the best people I know. So
yeah.
I know I can count on them if I have a question or a need or anything.
Yeah.
So I think
I,
that
I,
was your
I
experience too.
well said. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rant there. Okay.
No,
Anyway,
no,
moving
it's good.
along, Karl. Um,
It was good.
Thank you. Thank you. I just had the most sort of surreal thing. I took a bunch of the legal tech experts that I've had on my podcast, and I said, "Hey, why don't we all get together in a network and roundtable legal tech?" And literally that happened, an hour and a half ago. I had some
Oh,
amazing, I
cool.
mean, top level, and it was just like I was a little bit, I was like the slow kid in the class. Unfortunately, they were talking about things that went over my pay grade. But the point of me, it was like the things that I'm involved in with legal tech are mostly around saving lawyers time, saving me time, but saving lawyers time. And I'm happy to share a couple that have really made me and the clients I work with super efficient. But what are a couple of the legal tech tools that you've sort of embraced that have helped you serve your clients better and save your firm time?
Yeah. So I will say I'm still in the research and testing phase. So the ones that I'm going to mention I have not fully deployed them firm
Okay.
wide. I plan to later this year, probably
Okay.
after the summer. But the ones that I like that I have been using and seeing kind of how well they work. One is one of the most common. It's the one that everybody's heard of. It's Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Now it's an enterprise license, so it has some privacy protections built into it. It's not free, it's paid. which I would highly recommend for legal professionals to pay the extra money and set up an enterprise license. So I use that. I will call that light drafting, helping me draft letters, helping me draft emails, helping me draft objections to discovery responses. You know, I will often have an idea of, you know, the gist of what my objection is, but I can now just say that, either dictate it or type it in real quick, and GPT cranks out a pretty decent objection that I can just drop in to my discovery. So I'll literally have GPT up on one half of my screen, Microsoft Word up on the other, and I'll just use it for help. I don't use it, and I don't recommend using it for anything related to citing the law or a case or a statute. At least in my testing, it, you know, continues to hallucinate on cases. Now, maybe it's gotten better. I haven't tested that in several months. You know, they just released the 4.0 GPT 4.0 model. So maybe that's improved it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another one that I'm
but that's definitely a check your work situation. Don't you can leverage it, but don't count on it. I think that's a fair way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as the same way. I just talked to another attorney about this concept of what, if anything, should the State Bar of Texas issue with regard to the rules on AI. And I said, well, either encouraging attorneys to use it or nothing. Like, attorneys are responsible for the work product that they file with the court, right? You can't rely on, just like you can't rely on a legal secretary or a paralegal to draft something, and you don't file it without vetting it, checking it, making sure you're familiar with the facts, you're familiar with the law. I mean, the same should be true for AI. You shouldn't just file something that AI drafted without vetting, you know, what it says and making sure you're comfortable with the cases, facts. The other one that I've used that I like quite a bit, there's two. One is Case Text has an AI feature, co-counsel. That's the name of it. You know, they were acquired by Thomson Reuters, so hopefully that ends up being thing. I don't know. Sometimes large companies acquire startups and it sours, but we'll see. We'll we'll be positive and hope that that ends up really well for the product. But one looks very promising, and you know, you don't have to worry about hallucinations as much, if at all, with their tool. And so you can add legal questions and get pretty darn good answers with case law and, you know, statute citing and support. Lexis AI, I thought was pretty good quality as well when I tested. I haven't decided which of those two I'm going to roll. One of those two we will roll out at my firm, probably Case Text, because we already have their base subscription. So this would be an add-on to add co-counsel. But Lexis AI was really good too. I liked it when I tested it. You know, obviously we use Scribe for depositions at my firm. That's, you know, the company that I co-founded, Scribe.ai. And it's fantastic in all sorts of ways. I say that obviously as the founder, I'm drinking a little bit of my own Kool-Aid, but I'm also using the tool. So I think that adds a different perspective, probably a really healthy perspective. I'm on a weekly basis testing some of our new features, giving the dev team feedback on what I like, what I don't like, before it ever ends up in the hands of any of our customers. So yeah, and for your listeners who may never heard of Scribe, you know, Scribe has basically two products, Live and Library. Scribe Live is a non-stenographic alternative to old-fashioned court reporting. So instead of hiring a stenographer to sit there and type on a funky looking keyboard, video record everything, it's recorded in a redundant way and very secure. And then it is transcribed with ASR, automated speech recognition, and then proofread by a professional transcriptionist and legally formatted. So you end up with a very high quality formatted transcript video for about half the price of what a court reporting agency charges. And you get the access to the video synced record the same day as the deposition, and then you get the final transcript within 5 days. So it's also very fast.
Nice, nice. Well, really cool stuff, man. Great legal tech. And let's wrap up with our game-changing book, which is Unreasonable Hospitality. And I have not heard of that, so I was very curious what that was all about.
Yeah, so that is by Will Guidara. I may have butchered his last name, but I really enjoyed that book. It's about the restaurant 11 Madison Park in New York, and it's taking the perspective of kind of the general manager and the chef who worked there as well, of this really nice restaurant that he wanted it to be one of the top. And when he first joined it, it certainly wasn't. And so obviously part of the way to do that was to elevate the food, which they did, right? We hired a really great chef, and the quality of the food went up significantly, put them over the top, and they ended up becoming one of the top, if not the top ranked restaurant in the world. Was this concept of unreasonable hospitality. And the story that one of the stories, many stories that he tells in that book, is it's the little things that sometimes can have a really big impact on a client or a customer.
Yeah.
And so the example that he gives in the book that resonated with me, at least, was one of the wait staff overheard a family talking about they had this great trip to New York. They did this and that, but and they were headed to the airport. They left their suitcases with the host, but they didn't get a chance to have one of those hot dogs from the hot dog stand. And they wished they could have grabbed a hot dog when they were
Yeah.
in New York. And so the waiter heard this, immediately went to the manager, told him, and said, "Hey, could we run out really quickly and get one of these hot dogs from one of the hot dog stands and bring it in?" And so they quickly ran it by the chef, and who said, "Okay, we'll do it." They run out, they get this hot dog, they bring it back, they slice it up, kind of dress it real fancy, like a chef would at
Yep.
a
Yep. Yep.
fine dining restaurant, and they bring it out, and the family was just like blown away.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's something that they'll talk about for probably, years and years, and it cost the restaurant what,
Yeah.
$15 a little
Yeah.
bit of time.
Right, right. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
it is the little things, and we need to go sometimes above and beyond to make an impact. Awesome stuff. Hey, as we wrap up, Karl, we got to thank our sponsors. Love Lawmatics, great automation tool for processing contracts, for keeping in touch with your database. Working with your current practice management system. Of course, Get Staffed Up. We're looking at talking about VAs and delegating. No one better than Get Staffed Up. And Karl, if people want to get in touch with you either for the legal side or for the Scribe AI side, what are the best digits for them to reach you?
So they can reach me. I'm going to give the shorter email because it's probably the
Okay.
easier one to remember. Karl@scribe.ai. So that's with a K. Karl with a K and Scribe with a K.
Yep.
Karl@scribe.ai.
Yep.
Shoot me an email on either side. I'm happy to talk whatever. Legal tech. I also love law firm management and marketing stuff. So happy to share ideas or make referrals, however I can help. And any of your
Awesome.
listeners that are interested in trying Scribe for a deposition or uploading a past deposition, because the library product is for audio and video files, getting them transcribed and then clipping them. And we have an AI tool coming out very soon that will help analyze them. Be happy to give your listeners their first deposition, $500 off their first deposition or their first upload if they mention your name.
Hey, all right. Mention my name. Awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. Just a lot of great, things that lawyers that you've sort of figured out over time, and some pain, right? That they
Yeah.
can emulate and they can improve. And that's what it's all about. So thanks so much, Karl.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you everybody for hanging out with Karl and I today on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast, helping you to continue to be that lawyer, someone who's confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We'll talk again soon.